of the application. All right, is there anyone here? Yep, come on up, and if you could just introduce yourself, please. Close to the microphone.
I'm Dale D'Amico, 7 Sprague Road in Clinton, also a member of the planning board. I just want to say that there's been some new licenses given out, and I'm just in support of a license been in town for 50 years, and the family's been doing business down there for near 100. So I just want to give that consideration, please.
Thank you. Very good. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in support? All right, is there anyone here to speak against? Okay, so we'll close that portion of the hearing. Are there any questions from the board?
None for me.
Anybody else? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we grant the license for 79 Parker Street.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to abstain.
Abstain.
Yep.
All right, so four yeas and 1 abstain. Very good.
Thanks. Good luck.
Does anyone have any opposition to moving
No.
quickly to the old and new business, just to, as far as the, oh, I'm sorry, administrative business for the beer and wine license?
I'm okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we go out of order to hear the administrative business regarding the Irish Supper beer and wine license for St. John's.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Sure, come on up, Father Mazzoni.
Very kind of you, thanks.
Very good, so if you would introduce yourself.
Father Jim Mazzoni, pastor of St. John's Church, here to request, please, a license for the Irish Supper. We're going to have St. Patrick's Day, March 17, actually falls on the 5th Sunday of Lent. And then the day before is a perfect opportunity to have a party at the gym on Saturday. And so Saturday evening, just be beer and wine only. And we'll have qualified servers, and I don't imagine it'll be a very rowdy crowd there. Should be a fun evening of Irish step dancing and music and great food from Tom Torini. And yeah, we're just looking for our usual fun event. I think it's roughly like 4 to 8 o'clock we'd be looking. I'm sure that it's filled out on the permit. The
3 to
times.
7
3 to 7, yeah, that would be fine. So thank you very much for considering this request.
Very good. Any questions? All right, it's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we grant the request for the beer and wine license.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much. Very
Have
kind.
fun.
Thank you.
Have a great
You
night.
too. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, going back.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
seeing we're there,
Okay,
it seems like
absolutely.
those
Let's go
things
for
are
it.
pretty fast. Why don't
Let's
we
go
just,
for it.
why don't we just do them while we're,
Can we batch them?
All right, so we have the water, sewer, trash abatements. The total amount was $5,103.71. Did everyone have a chance to?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I actually had a question. I saw Rite Aid was on there for
Yeah.
being bankrupt. For $16. Are they not going to pay any more water bills? 16, you think you scrounge that up in the cash drawer. Are they not going to, because you only get one shot at the abatement, right?
Right.
So are they going to pay any more water bills, or you think? You don't know. I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot, Michael. Sorry.
Right.
This is the first one we got from
This would
them.
have been a bill they already paid, so they're just looking for an adjustment.
To get the $16 back. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Noted.
I saw that too.
I'm going to
Yeah.
shorten my
I know
Rite
it's-
Aid stock, I guess.
Yeah.
Any-
Too late, probably. Okay. No, that's it for me.
Any other questions? Can we just approve them as, in one swoop? What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve the abatements in the amount of $5,103.71.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? There be none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item, one-day beer and wine license for summer concert series. The Parks and Recreation Department is seeking approval for the one-day beer and wine license to be used from June 18th, 2024 through August 27th, 2024 during the summer concert series in Central Park.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the series of one-day beer and wine license applications from June 18th to August 27th, 2024 for the Parks and Rec Summer Concert Series with Sterling Street Brewery.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item, Town Hall use for Holiday Pops Concert. Parks and Recreation Department is requesting use of the Town Hall Fallon Auditorium for Saturday, December 7th, 2024, from 12 PM to 10:30 PM to host the annual Holiday Pops Concert.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for use of Town Hall Fallon Auditorium for Saturday, December 7th, 2024, from 12 to 10:30 PM.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. All right, rolling back to the originally listed item on the agenda. We have the Bigelow Library Grant Focus Group update and the director, Marie Letarte. If you'd like to, please come up.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is just, because they're pretty and they get you distracted if you don't even know what I'm saying. This is just an update. I know last time I came before you was in October, and I just wanted to keep you updated so you know, since this is a town project, the town is applying for this grant. As you know, the grant application requires a municipality offer 2 sites. I mentioned this last fall. We've reviewed 150 School Street and 239 Chestnut Street. Obviously, one of the sites we will recommend will be the current site, but I didn't know if, in the interim, anyone knew of a new site that might be eligible or qualify as a potential site. And all I can say is, although I don't have a Realtor's license, the same rules apply. A location. If you know a site that's centrally located and easy to get to, it would be, pretty awesome. Anyway, the consultant completed the 3 focus groups, and there was overwhelming support to offer Clinton the best library possible, whether it is a new building or a renovation addition. Some of the things specifically mentioned were technology, study rooms, safe space for children, stay clean, decent, safe and welcoming space for teens, more accessibility, better programming and maker spaces. So this thing is the timeline that we actually have completed, I would say, almost half of it, thanks to the vote last June. And we are at the point where we are just finishing off the application. So we had to do a library building program, which talks about what the library needs, the spaces needed, the square footage and stuff. And then the results of the focus groups. There is a section for the town procurement officer to fill out. There's a section for the town accountant to fill out. And then there's a section for, which I've already done, upload deeds of the 2 sites that we're recommending, and signatures, of course, from the select board and key personnel. And then if you are interested, I can certainly forward you a draft of what we have so far of the building program, if you have any interest in looking at it. And just a reminder, the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Grant Program only happens every 8 to 10 years. And it's a really great, exciting time to be in Clinton and part of this opportunity. But the timeline, and I realize the crucial one, the really big fat one, you can't see it's yellow and yellow, but basically it's November 2024 to February 2026. Those are the dates you can't read.
Very good. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, the Chestnut Street address, is that the old immigrant vets.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
And we met in like 2020 about like a whole renovation.
So-
Does any of that play or no?
So that actually is crucial, the analysis and assessment of the building, all the systems, where they looked at the plumbing, they looked at the envelope of the building, looked at the masonry, they looked at the blah, 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 all those parts show the state of the building. So they show how badly we need a building. The actual design part, the architectural sort of, dream on, remember we talked about the gold standard? That was sort of an exercise of possibility as opposed to, we don't even know if that's the architect that would be chosen. But that was the fun part, but the part that's crucial for this application is the assessment part, where you're like, it would cost this much to fix it and this much, and then this is all the stuff that is, 1905 standards and actually needs to be the next. So it was worth doing, it's just only parts of it are the part they care about.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
And of course, your participation, that was helpful and appreciated.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, but
Very good. Well, thank you very much for the update.
All right, and it sounds like we have some parties going.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, adoption of townwide municipal employment policies. Mr. Ward, would you like to speak on this?
Sure, Mr. Chair. Just to introduce, Human Resources has been working on developing kind of written standard policies. A lot of what we had done in the past was more informal. So we're trying to kind of get a little bit more documentation and, consistency and uniform across the organization. So Christine started with these 8, working with Labor Council at Myrick O'Connell to come up with just some basic template boilerplate of statutory rights and leaves and notices that are required for state and federal law. So things that we have to follow, we don't have a choice, but we've never formally had a policy that we distribute to employees, that they acknowledge, that they sign off, that we keep documentation of. So this is just a start and probably a list of policies that Christine Purple will be working on. So these are some that you want to put forward to the board. There will be an obligation that once they are reviewed and approved, adopted by the select board, that we would have to provide notice to the unions and, with an implementation date to give them any opportunity if they wanted to address any concerns of the impact or any issues that they might have. So we certainly, we're not bargaining the policy. They only get notice to inform us if there's any concern or impact of implementing that policy. So there's a lot there. I know there are 8 of them. I don't know if the members had an opportunity to review them yet, but certainly it's something that you could do at the next meeting if you need more time to look it over as well too. But
Very good. I would, a couple of union reps had reached out and they had some questions about some of the policies. So I would ask that maybe we take time to review it, give them an opportunity to either contact the town administrator or town council.
Yeah, the board wants to move forward. I mean, like Mr. Ward said, once the board is okay with moving forward, there are legal notices that happen both collective bargaining unions, imposing these policies that they, would get so much time to respond if they had any concern with it, then actually put the board would address those concerns. So there is a process in place that supposedly legal notices as well. So the boards, as I had time to review them, was ready to move forward now. So the next step would be to get those notices out to the collective bargaining unions and then have them, respond with what concerns, if any, they have.
Yeah, I think from the perspective of hearing what their concerns are prior to adoption, I think would be I think would be important as far as, you know, the collaboration and having their concerns heard prior to kind of that step. So I would, my suggestion or request would be that we can at least provide availability for any of the unions that do have a concern for it to be heard, and then the next time we get together.
And I just want to add, I mean, yesterday we did have a meeting with all the unions on health insurance, and afterwards, I didn't speak with them, but I know a couple of the union presidents had approached HR about these. But everything we're doing is public record, and it's you know, transparent, it's open. So certainly, if the unions want copies of them, that's fine to see what the drafts are, but we're not in a position that we're going to sit down with them and negotiate and change language based on what they want. It's only after we put it forward, if they say that the impact of that implementation is going to affect or contradict some, you know, previous practice or benefit, then we'll address that individually. But we can't have a separate, you know, these are family medical leave, domestic violence leave, pregnancy worker leave, sexual harassment, those type of issues. So we can't have individual policies for every department or every union. So these are just standard boilerplate policies, and then we'll work with each individual group if they have a specific concern. So, but certainly I don't have a problem giving them copies. That's not a lot of documentation. There are a couple of pages for each policy. But I just want to let the unions know we're not going to meet with them to go over it. We'll just provide them that information, and then when we give them notice, then we'll sit down and talk about it from there.
Yeah,
Mr.
I mean, there's nothing new here. I mean, there's
Thank you.
policies that have been implemented in the past, and this is the normal procedure. The board approves, you know, you're not implementing, you're just approving the policy. Then the policy goes out, legal notices go out to the unions, and they then can respond in, you know, whatever fashion they so choose. But in the meantime, the policy has been approved by this board. It hasn't been implemented, because we're waiting to be sent out those notices and get that feedback. So, and that's where, because certainly we couldn't send out those notices yet, because the board hasn't given the okay to move forward. So that's why they, you know, so they found out about it, the union knows about it. There's nothing no one's trying to do anything behind the scenes. It's all a matter of public record, as Mr. Warren said. This is just a normal practice.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I did have an opportunity to read all the 8 that were supplied to us. And I mean, I just see it as, you know, it is policy that the town is going to implement, and it really isn't a negotiating tool. As Michael said, it's something that the town is putting forward, and eventually you're going to sit down if the board so, you know, goes forward with accepting them, and I don't see why they wouldn't. And then it has the due process, but I can't see bringing it to them to negotiate anything. These are policies. So, I mean, that's how I feel about
Yeah,
it.
it's not negotiating, just, you know, the policies are approved.
Yeah.
Here's the policies, and they, you know, they can respond. That's the whole point of the notice. It's not a negotiation back and forth. It's really just, if they want to impact, right, they can impact. And what's the impact of the policy? But it's not to change the policy. And most of these policies, I don't know, the board probably has a computer, they're pretty vanilla. They just follow the statutes. You know, there might be some issues that, you know, they get raised that no one thought, okay, then we'll just see what those are. But it's not going to be, it's not something we're negotiating. It's really just impact, right? If it comes to that.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that the union reps that I spoke to were looking to negotiate, but it was more how, there were a couple of questions on how things would, how do they work with existing department policies, or, for example, on one of them where with the FMLA and the paid time off, there was a question about how would it be dictated on how the paid time off is used, like does it have to be used in a specific order? It was things of that nature. It was more of an education inquiry than anything. It wasn't, you know, questioning. I don't think anybody up here is questioning, or excuse me, the unions are questioning having a sexual harassment policy. It was more or less like the couple that are related to like the leaves, you know, as I just mentioned. So that's what I was requesting and suggesting, that's all.
Mr. Chair, and I think that's why I appreciate Michael and Angela and Christine for putting this forward so that we can actually figure out how these policies that are law fit into how we actually make the departments run every day. So, yeah, the sooner we get this from the law into reality, the sooner we can figure out how, we can actually make it work day to day, which I think we have to. So, yeah, I look forward to working with the unions on this. And again, none of this is, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not making this up. This is all stuff that we have to do.
Exactly.
Which rightfully so. I mean, it's been hard-fought battles.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, and I appreciate Matt and the unions, bringing this up. Like, how does it practically fit into how we run the town day to day? And we can figure it out.
Right, yeah, exactly. They're all just really boilerplate statutory language, and it's kept broad enough because there may be other contracts that impact language or benefits or practices, so those would take precedent, but there still has to be some basic policy. And again, I've never turned away any union inquiry or asking me questions or wanting to meet with me, so I'm happy to explain it to them, but I just don't want to leave the expectation that I'm not going to sit down and say, oh, I don't like that word or this language or that sentence or whatever, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
if you have questions, I'm happy to answer it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just to move this on, I would move that we approve these 8 that are before us tonight.
Second?
All right, any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. The next item on the agenda, American Rescue Plan Act recommendations, business assistance program update.
I know, Mr. Chair, that Mr. Duffy had put together a memo, and I know it just dropped off on the table tonight for the board members. So there is a kind of a breakdown of what requests and businesses that he's been working with. Next meeting, we do have a number of ARPA items that are coming forward at the next meeting, and I think Mr. Duffy was coming on other issues as well. So certainly if the board wanted to take this information, review it and digest it, and then he'll be at the next meeting to go over it if you have any questions. But there's been, I think he gave a breakdown on the number of businesses and applications that he had. So it looks like there's 10, 14, 16, 18 businesses that he's currently working with right now. There are a couple, he hasn't gone through all 18, but there's an initial recommendation of 15 awards in the amount of $115,000. So I think they ended up getting the final applications just around the holidays. I know they extended the deadline, and they were receiving requests up until the holidays. So he's been going through the applications and vetting it, kind of like the COVID program, trying to do a background and vetting the need. So
How much time did we set aside for this program, do you know? Didn't we allocate?
I think this one was 150.
I think it was, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was 150.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and obviously it'd be easier if he was here, so, I
Yeah.
mean, I would suggest that we have any questions for if he's coming in the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Mike, can you help me? So how much no funds have been given to businesses yet. He's upon initial review, recommending a first round of 15 awards. So that's going to be at a future meeting?
Right. I think he's made the review of those, and he's putting forward processing payment. So people haven't received check in hand, but I believe payments in process to submit to some of the initial qualifying businesses.
Okay. I wish maybe Phil will be available at the next meeting, or I can catch up with him. But I need to, I mean, I'm happy this program looks like it's making its way, but we started talking about this, I think, last March, and I really, with all respect to Phil's department, I really don't understand why it would take a year to put together a program, advertise it, get applications, make decisions, and we're into February of 2024. I just think these businesses were hurting during COVID. This money, I think, should have been, I think we had a late start getting it out, and I think I was hoping that with the late start that we'd be able to get this money out quicker. I'd like to understand why it takes almost a year for this process from start to finish. I know there's work involved, and because I worked with Phil and the Worcester Chamber of Commerce representatives in putting this program together, and the Clinton Chamber, but I really don't see why this takes coming up on a year to get this money out to businesses who really need the money. So, sorry to be a downer. I'm happy that the money is finally making its way, but I really don't see why it would take a year.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, so we'll pick that up at our next meeting. So then we have the parking for 329 High Street.
Are we there already?
Oh, where did I?
Administrator's report.
That was under old and new business.
There's info here, but I don't see.
Oh, old and new business.
sorry, yeah.
All right, so that, okay, so I'm sorry, so we're American Rescue Plan. Okay, now we're on to the town administrator report. There we go, all right.
All right, Mr. Chair, just a few items just to discuss with the board. First off, the governor's budget has been released, House 2. The town of Clinton had received additional funding under the Student Opportunity Act for Chapter 70 monies. The governor did fully fund that program, and there was a small increase in the general government assistance as well. So I was a little concerned with the governor's cuts earlier this year that we may see that come. They didn't cut municipalities that first round, but I thought we might see it in the budget. But as of right now, we're okay, and we'll see as it goes through the House and Senate. So departments are submitting their budgets now, and the first meeting in March of the Select Board meeting, the Finance Committee wanted to start doing joint meetings on those March and April meetings. So we'll be setting up departments to come in to present coming at the end of this month, so.
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Michael, I know the school, we get increases, but it wasn't the increase they expected. Is that the same for the town?
Right, yeah, I think what the school had drafted their preliminary budget, and the superintendent did, stress it was just a preliminary budget after talking with departments, that they were estimating just kind of previous years' funding as to what they had gotten the last couple of years, so he kind of built his budget based off of that. So it did, the amount that was in the governor's proposal was less than what he had used in his. So
$1 million short.
Yeah, so they do have some work to do on their preliminary budget.
Is that the same for the town? How short are we on the town side? As far as like what we expected as far as aid versus what we got?
Yeah, we ended up having more, so I would have been happy with level funding. So we did get, we did get a small increase. I think it was about 70,000 or
Fine,
something.
okay.
So, yeah, so it wasn't a huge amount, but it was more than what we, more than what we got this year, what we have this year, so.
Okay, thanks.
So,
But that's the governor's budget, that's not the,
exactly.
and I know that there's a huge deficit, so state is, I think they said 700 million, so I mean, how it shakes out, I mean, you don't really know.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, that's
let's hope for
trending
the best, let's
it's
hope
trending
for the
badly.
best. Yeah, let's hope for the best, I'm sorry.
It's trending badly, like
Yeah.
the receipts are down too.
Let's
so,
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right, so that's the governor's first pass, so the more time goes on and the worse revenue projections
Yes.
happen, then by
Yeah.
the time it gets to the final version, it could be clawed back more than what it is right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
so.
Maybe this is a call for you
But we'll have,
to
you
go
know,
up. You know?
yeah. So so at the end of this month, we'll have all the budget information together, and the first hearing will be that March, I forget the date, is March 7th or whatever that date
thanks.
in the next month, so that's first. The second, I just wanted to highlight, last week, that I had gone down to Sterling Street property. The EPA and DEP were down there doing some asbestos testing on the pile down on that site. If it comes back that there's significant contamination, the EPA has some funding and a program that they can apply for monies to remove that pile for us and remediate that. So we were able to get rid of the first pile with DEP's help, that it wasn't as bad as they thought, so they had funding to get rid of that. The more expensive one is the asbestos, but if EPA can help us get rid of that one, then we can start to move forward on looking at that site, at least the above surface. Some of the subsurface, there's still some issues there, but there may be ways that we can try to at least encapsulate that or only use a certain part of the site or what we want to do. So,
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I know Phil said a few months ago that he received, excuse me, the 250,000.
Right.
So if the EPA is willing to remove some of it, that 250,000, would that still stand, even though, I mean, would the town still receive that to let's say, clean up the rest of the site?
I believe
that-
so,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
because we're waiting to hear on what EPA might have. So Mass Development is holding that money
Okay.
until we can see whether we get the
Okay.
EPA. So, yeah, so absolutely, I think that we would get benefit of both, that we could use then to do
Okay.
more work down there too.
How realistic do you think that it is that we would get something from the EPA?
When I was down there and met with them, they seemed optimistic. I mean, they were very good to work with and very positive. Now, they have their own criteria. So they did say, which, normally you'd say this is a bad thing, but they did say that they have consultants that did the sampling, and that there was, that they did find, right off the bat, they did find asbestos in the big pile down there. So they said that's a good sign, meaning that if it's there in significant portions, that it's something that they can do. They can go to the next step for us. So because of the snow, they weren't able to do the whole property, but that they did say they would give us interim results on the pile, and if it qualifies, they can get an action plan for the pile, and then later in the spring, when the snow melts, come back and do the rest of the site to see if there's anything else. Only asbestos we're talking about. If there's other asbestos that, tiles that may have been spread out or pushed or moved based on stuff moving on the site. So they did pretty comprehensive work. It was pretty cold that day. We were down there for a couple hours, so I couldn't wait to get back to my office. But they had a good crowd from EPA, from DEP, and they seemed very positive at that meeting. But they cautioned that they do have steps in a process that they then, testing will hand off to another department, and they'll hand off to another and go from there. But they said normally we'd have to wait 6 months for a report, but they said they won't wait 6 months. If they get this in 2 months or 3 months, they'll give us that result so they can move forward on that first phase, and then wait for it probably till the summer till we get the rest of the work. So at least we
But
can.
in the grant that Phil got, there's no time frame on that, is there? as far
I don't
as-
believe so, no,
Okay.
because I think, I know that the Mass Development are having some changes in their department, so they're making sure they secure that funding before their, change of personnel takes place there at Mass Development, so. And I know that Mr. Duffy also has put together some RFPs for this property and for the Jean's Auto property, so if we can get it to a point where we can move forward, at least we can start soliciting interest on these properties and go from there. The Jean's Auto property, I think that final environmental report is due the end of February. So if everything is in good shape, where I think he was going to approach the board about issuing that RFP right away. And seeing if there's any interest in that property. So it may, if the town doesn't see any need for it, if the board wants to surplus it, or if we just get proposals to see if there's something better out there, and then make a decision on whether to go forward with it. But we're looking to, by this summer, to have some proposals on reuse of that site, at least for the Jean's Auto, so.
Very good. Any other questions?
All right. Just wanted to make a note that our insurance company has a vehicle simulator. It's a state-of-the-art driving simulator that they bring around to member communities to do safe driver training and operator testing. And they will be here in Clinton. They'll be coming here for over a period of couple weeks to do police, fire, and public works. So it's a big trailer, and they come in and they'll have scenarios and for different emergency vehicles, and they now have a DPW module as well too. So they'll be coming in to do that with that training with our employees. So just a reminder, I know it's in the packet, but for the public as well as the board, that next Tuesday on February 13th at 6:30 PM at the middle school cafeteria, there will be an all boards meeting with the final presentation of the middle school construction project. There will be invited select board, finance committee, school committee, inspectors, public safety, and the public will be invited to see that final proposal that will be sent to the state. The end of this month, it'll be sent into the state, and I think the state MSBA board is meeting in April to review that project to determine whether they'll approve it for funding, for grant funding. And if that takes place, then there will be a warrant article on town meeting in June to seek funding for the new school. So
That's
that
6
is
PM on
next
the-
Tuesday, February 13th at 6:30 at the middle
Oh,
school.
6:30.
And just, again, it's in the packet, but just want to note that our building inspector, Jim Salmon, has giving us a notice that he intends to retire at the end of the summer, effective September 1st. So we thank Jim for all his work and hard efforts that he's given here in Clinton, but that's giving us plenty of time so we can start a recruitment process for that position. So we thank him for that. And just a quick update on the DPW superintendent position, that the new hire is starting on February 20th. So they needed to give a 30-day notice to their current employer. So that will be here a week after next. They'll be starting. So they'll be moving on that transition as well. So that's what I have today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, under old and new business. Approval of middle school recreation land quitclaim deeds. The town solicitor has completed work with National Grid on quitclaim deeds to codify historical property, ownership and easement rights for the Clinton Middle School and athletic field lands on Route 110 that is needed to show site control for the new middle school construction project.
So I just want to thank Bob Gibbons too, while he's here. He did a lot of work with National Grid Council to get this over the finish line. And this here is is trying to solidify from the 70s when the town had gotten land for the middle school. There was a swap of land with National Grid to give the town property for the school, and then the town would swap land to them for their power lines. And then when we got the ball fields, they had asked for, the lines were already on that field when we took it over, but they were asking then if the town would give them an easement to give them some rights of passage of their transmission lines through that property. So Mr. Gibbons was working with National Grid, developed these deeds, and we have a site plan, which kind of went through a couple of revisions. So now we're just looking for, National Grid is approving their side, and then the Select Board seeing its property need to finalize the deeds with the Select Board. So MSBA, this will be part of the package that will be going to the state, as they want to show that we have actual recorded deeds to build the school on that property, so that we have control of that site. So I don't know if.
Yeah, no, and it's just because right now where the existing middle school is, there's a small easement. Actually, it's owned by National Grid. It runs right like our middle school, just never been transferred to the town. And the same when the lines out back, that was a small strip of land that was supposed to be conveyed to National Grid, which never happened. Within the easements, Michael just mentioned, for the lines that are by the tennis courts across the street, the easements will never get it. So in fact, the deed they asked the board to sign tonight was actually approved at town meeting back in June of 2002. So it's been taking 22 years. Back in 2000, they had all the paperwork in pretty good shape back then. And for whatever reason, because they realized they had a problem back then, they had never done a proper report with listeners. It kind of just fell off, put it on the back burner again. And now here we are 22 years later, but we absolutely need it. So I have the deed that you folks are going to need to sign on page 4. But I'll bring it up and forget, I'll sign it. And then eventually we'll get, like Michael said, we'll get this recorded. Grid's getting theirs signed off. We'll get that recorded and hopefully we can get it all in the package. In good shape. 22 years.
I've heard the saying that government moves
Yeah.
slow, but they weren't kidding.
Way to bring it on home.
Thank you very much for getting that rectified.
So we would just ask, would you want a vote of the board to, just
They can vote to approve the deed. I mean, it's already been approved in town meetings, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we sign the deed that was previously approved in 2002.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Very good. Next item on the agenda, Memorial Day Parade Coordinator, Mr. Deval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was able to ask the veterans agent to just type up a list. Michael was nice enough to print it up. It wasn't in the electronic packet, but it should be in one of your loose papers. So this is directly from the veterans agent on the steps that he goes through every year to run the parade. This is, I would envision that if we were to move forward with some sort of a temporary event coordinator for this event, that it would include these tasks. In addition to, you'll see one of the things out there is a point of contact POC for groups, organizations participating in the parade. It's that specific one, I think we would expand a little bit, because in my idea for this temporary position, if you guys also think it's a good idea, is that this position it's not only to just coordinate or run this parade, it's to try to reach out to the community to set up the next volunteer committee. Because as of right now, due to whatever circumstances, there is not a volunteer committee right now. And the burden of this parade has been falling on the veterans agent, and it's technically not his responsibility. His job description says to work with the Memorial Day Committee, of which the Memorial Day Committee no longer exists. So I think it's important that we create a temporary stipend position to run the Memorial Day Parade, and the Veterans Agent will assist that individual. But in addition to these tasks that our Veterans Agent is currently taking care of, I think what we would want if we put together a job description, that we should emphasize that in addition to these, we would be asking this individual to reach out into the community to try to get groups involved in both the day of the parade, but to also reach out to the community to see if we can rebuild a volunteer committee. So maybe in 2 or 3 years, we can renew this position year to year. Maybe in 3 years, there's enough of a volunteer committee built up of some of the veterans organizations in town that we can, we don't need that coordinator anymore. But right now, my fear is that this event is just in a very fragile state. There's been kind of a passing of the old guard, and I don't think, to nobody's fault, I don't think we've really been advertising or really letting everyone know that, hey, we really need people in the community to step up. And it's really, it's the one event in the town that is in recognition of the ultimate sacrifice. So I think it would be, because I have heard, some people have recommended, well, maybe we just shouldn't do it for a couple years so that everyone sees that we don't do it, and then people will get upset, and then we'll get volunteers. I really don't want to play chicken with a parade that's as important as this and like what it means. So I think it would behoove us to think of a position that is a stipend position, that the stipend is affordable. The other thing to keep in consideration too is every year for the last, at least since I've been on the board, the Veterans Agent has turned money back to the town. He hasn't even spent his budget. So if we're talking about like a $1,000 or a $2,000 stipend for this position, I think, considering the amount of money that the department has turned back, I don't think that we're putting too much of a burden. So I hope that something like that wouldn't deter people from being in favor of this. And we did have some brief discussions at the last meeting about, maybe this could be instead of just a specific Memorial Day event, maybe there's another event that we might want to include in this, or a couple. I'm up for discussion, but my task from last meeting was just to present to the board a list of responsibilities that the Veteran Agent currently is undertaking. And so that's what you have in front of you. And like I said, the only thing that I would add to this list is just that this job description would also emphasize the task of reaching out into the community and trying to get organizations involved in the parade and trying to find the next group of volunteers to start a new Memorial Day committee. So, with that, I just kind of leave it to the rest of the board for discussion. And if we hopefully think that there's enough agreement to move forward, then we can start talking with Mike and town council about like how those steps would happen.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Are you talking, Eddie, about, because I know he has a $5,000 budget for the Memorial Day. You're talking about that stipend coming from that $5,000?
It could.
Well, I mean, if he's turning money back,
Yeah.
rather than getting into, legal aspects of it, if it's something within his budget, would he have the authorization to have someone through the administrator to help him in the formation of the Memorial Day Parade?
Yeah, I guess we have to look at what the exact position. How do we even classify that an individual? They're obviously getting paid, cited, whatever, it's not an hour, we could look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I have to take a look at it.
Okay.
You're talking about $1,000, couple $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some positions at the school, there's some precedent. I know the schools aren't us, they're different, but like, I know there are, like the high school graduation, there's an event coordinator for that, and they have a stipend. So there is some sort of a precedent for it, but I don't pretend to really understand all the mechanisms of how this would be created on the town side. So I'm really just bringing it up to the board. If there's, general support for it, then we can at least start asking the questions to Michael and to town council on what would be the next steps if we did want to create a stipend position. I don't know if we would be able to get something created so that they'd be able to help out a little bit for this year's parade. I don't know, because I really don't know how long this process would take, but, in general, if the board is in favor of it, I would like to reach out and start asking those questions about what the next steps would be.
I mean, based on the community and economic development, I guess, I forget the title, downtown coordinator. I mean, Lee's done a phenomenal job with other events. Is there a way that we can kind of utilize her to try to help kind of put something together, or at least come up with, see what you can do?
Yeah.
What her recommendation is, because, I mean, essentially isn't that what that role was kind of, it wasn't aimed to be a parade coordinator, but.
Right.
But I think if the need is there, is there something we can, can we reach out to her and see if.
Right.
There's something we can do.
I
I
agree.
mean, for this year, I mean, it's kind of late. I mean,
Right.
I'd be willing to help, Mr. Bailey out. I mean, I have been to enough of Memorial Day parades, that's for sure. But I mean, I think he has to be involved in this. I mean, definitely is someone that, I mean, it's his department, so,
I
Right,
don't disagree.
So the way that it was kind of left off the last time we had talked was, he was gonna reach out to the veterans groups to try, to kind of open those lines of communication. So I think we should follow up to see where he is with that. And then, I agree, I'm more than willing to assist with it. I think we need to kind of bring in the groups that.
well, I'm certainly not, I don't know who you heard that from but I don't think anybody should stop the Memorial Day. I mean, it's a great day that's the one day that we take and well, not the one day, but it's an important day to honor our veterans and the service and sacrifices they did make for the right for us to live in this free country. So, I would be absolutely opposed to not doing it.
Right. And so, yeah, it's good to hear, yeah, because that's my thoughts on it as well. And I think times were different. I think maybe volunteer, we're trying to get people more involved. It's an uphill climb, but I think we've made some progress, the volunteer and beer day, and I know we've done a lot of good things like that, but it is getting more difficult to find people to devote their time to volunteer. So that's why if we can get volunteers, that's ideal, but just for right now, I just think it's in such a fragile state that it does need a dedicated resource that has it as a job for the next 1 or 2 years, just to keep it together and to try to build that group back up, because there's no if. I don't know when, I don't know how much longer the veterans agent is gonna be at his job. If he retires for any reason and another veterans agent takes over, from my understanding of the job description, they're under no obligation to run this event. So I just would I'd like to make sure we have someone in charge of it that can build that group back up, and so that, I don't want it to be forever. If they can get a volunteer group put together and we revisit this every year, and, maybe by year 3, we're comfortable enough that, the volunteer group has this under control, and things can go back to the old way it was, where the veterans agent just works in collaboration with a new Memorial Day committee, that would be a happy day. But I just think for right now, we need to take some steps to preserve the parade for a future
Well,
generation.
I mean, again, I'll definitely, I'll get in touch with him tomorrow. I'll, help him out in any way I can. If he wants me to go to the veterans groups, I will. I mean, I'm not opposed to helping him, put this together this year.
Yeah, so in speaking with the veterans agent, we had talked about the groups that are participating in the parade, kind of bringing in like the Little League, the youth softball, youth soccer, and having them be involved at least in some capacity as far as that portion, because I think, if we can get the buy-in and participation from those groups as volunteerism kind of turns over.
Right.
We're ensuring that those groups continue to participate.
Right.
So I think between contacting Lee Abdella and, we can get an update from Brendan on the communication that was sent out to the veterans groups, and then we can get together to make sure that this is working, because we have the schools are also involved in that, so I think we got to get everybody
Right.
kind of in the same room together.
And I
But
think-
I agree with you on the oversight, whether it's, veterans agent in collaboration, fine, we'll get those people in the room together.
And I think that's the point, is that there just needs to be, all that outreach to these different to these groups needs to be coordinated by someone. And it's not just gonna happen organically. It's like, kindling fire, like someone's gonna have to go out there and engage and reach out and email and call and follow up and send letters and really work to get people involved. I don't think it's gonna be, I think it's kind of been too far removed for too long for it to just be like an organic process. And you kind of need someone, because even if you do get like 7 or 8 people that want to volunteer, it would be good if you had somebody in that position already that can like help kind of coordinate some of the help and be that kind of central point. So it's not just 7 people staring at each other wondering like who's going to do what. So
The only thing I can say, Ed, just to I'm uncomfortable paying a town employee additional money to be a coordinator for a town event. I would think that we could still have someone care enough to do it for nothing, to
Well,
volunteer. That's why I'm willing to help out this year to get it going and see if we can get a core group for the next year or whatever.
That's, we have an event coordinator that I don't know why we wouldn't try to utilize in some capacity, at least for direction or whatever the case may be.
I don't have a problem with that, but this will be an additional workload to an employee that already has a workload. So I don't, there was, if we're talking about using the downtown coordinator to take care of this, this wasn't on her plate before, so it's gonna be an additional.
We're not saying assign it to her, we're saying is, you reach out and you open those lines of communication, right? That's what this is gonna be, is getting people to talk to each other. She's right across the hall from Brenny.
Right.
No one's ruling out, your proposal, but let's get everybody together in a room and start having that conversation on a direction and get moving with this. So, May's gonna be here quick enough.
Can we at least just put something on the website? Because last year I had 2 groups reach out to me saying, I don't know who the contact is, but my group has always participated, but I haven't been the person who's been the point person, so I don't know. So can we at least just put something on the website that says, the Memorial Day Parade is on this X date, and that this is the current point of contact, if you have any questions, if you want to participate, and then just start to pull it together. I'm fine if we want to add additional funding to the downtown coordinator's position to pay them to do this, if that is in the bandwidth. I know that event coordination is a third of that job, so I don't know what other activities are currently happening, but, I just went on and put into ChatGPT, organize a Memorial Day Parade, and gave me a whole long outline of it. So if we can start plugging in and getting the right people in place, I think we can move this along.
I still think it's important to talk to the veteran agent to see, how he sees it all coming together.
Well, this is the tasks that he's outlined, correct? Or Mike outlined for him?
I mean, Brendan, and we've
He's
been
the-
talking about this for several weeks, so
Brendan
he's
supplied this.
He's definitely
This is his
involved in the communication. We have a new, we may have a new band leader in the schools next year, so that's gonna be another, there's gonna be a little bit of turnover, but I think let's just start with we can create an email chain, we can meet, and then we can, get an update from Brenny and.
I don't have a problem with that. So were we saying at possibly the next meeting, if Brendan and Lee are available, we can have them come to a select board meeting and have a discussion about?
Yeah, I mean, I can reach out to Brendan tomorrow and reach out to Lee and just kind of, see if they can come in and we can get an update from Brendan on where the status of the letters that he sent out were, and start listing all, getting all the groups that currently participate and figuring out who those contacts were and get everybody in the same room or in the same Zoom, right?
Okay.
And it would be good to get feedback too from the people that are participating and also the people even who attend, because it certainly has been a longstanding tradition in town. It is a kind of 2-hour event that there are young kids involved. Like, how can we make this something that people do want to participate in and do want to come and watch and see and whatnot too, so that if we're kind of starting to build it back up, like, what is the feedback? What do people like? What do they don't like? What would they like to see?
And that's kind of the exact, like, those are like the tasks that I would kind of envision that whoever we deem, like, that's what they would do. They would be that, so that when we put something on the website, we can say, contact this person. Like, they're the ones, like, running it this year. Because to get volunteers, I think it takes a little bit of work to do outreach and to get the volunteers. And I don't know if the veterans agent has the time, or quite frankly, I don't really think it's that department's responsibility to rebuild a volunteer group. I think it's gonna take something from us other than just putting something on a website or putting out ads in the newspaper for people to come volunteer. I really do think we need to temporarily institutionalize that event, and it needs a paid person who's responsible for running that event.
So let's start with getting everybody together, and then we can figure out, as this kind of starts going along, if there was a strong response from the veterans groups, then, that impacts the decision, right? If there wasn't, I mean, it's gonna have to evolve. I mean, Parks and Rec has been helping with the organizing, like the day of organizing, you can bring them on. Like, you don't have to figure out how this is gonna work tonight, you gotta get everybody together.
Okay, just keep in mind, we're talking about $1,000 stipend position too. So we don't we don't need to split the atom with this either. I'm fine with taking the next step of having Brendan and Lee come in here and talk about it further, but we don't need to overthink this thing.
No, but I don't know much about stipend positions here, but what does that entail?
I don't think we've ever done it. It's
So
always been
I
volunteer.
mean, it's not necessarily opposed to it, but I think it sounds like what you're expecting is us to say, yes, let's do it, but
Yes.
and then we have a stipend position. I don't know what's involved in terms of
No,
the economics of it, to Mary's point about whose budget it's coming under, or what that involves in terms of the logistics of it all.
I think I was very clear that I said, I don't pretend to know the mechanisms of how that position is created. So I think you're mischaracterizing what I said. I said, if the board is in agreement that this is a good idea, the next step would be to ask Michael and town council to what are the next steps if we did want to make this happen. But it doesn't seem like we're at that stage yet, and that's fine. Okay, if we want to still try to figure out a way just to do it with volunteers, or if we think that the downtown coordinator can take this upon herself to do it, that's fine. I just think for an event this important to be, I just think this is just being over discussed. And if just because we haven't done something, it's a very simple, I mean, the school has stipend positions for everything. So it's not like a completely foreign concept. It happens. So, I mean, I think we can figure it out if we have to do it for an event that's as important as this is.
See, I think the part that's we're missing right now is the veterans agent, his recommendation was to reach out to the veterans groups to notify them. So I don't know why we would go around that. Let's follow up to see what he suggested. He said, I'll reach out, let's see what the response is, and then we'll go from there. That's all. He said it. So why would we, I think we're kind of turning this into something that doesn't need to be. Let's get what his update is. This is what he suggested. So no one's disagreeing with what you're saying, right? But let's get the people in the room together that can provide an update.
It sure sounds like it. It really sounds like it.
I completely disagree with I'm hearing the same thing you're hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we move on and that we have them in for our next meeting.
Perfect. All right. Then we have the Clinton 175th anniversary celebration.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, not to beat this horse anymore, but this is just something, like, if you didn't know that Clinton was turning 175 and we didn't do anything, would that upset you? Like, is 175 anything people care about? That's what I want to know. If not, I will table this to 2050 and happily pass it along. I don't know. I was just curious. It's a roundish number. And again, we have a federal 250 coming up the year after. So if we're having trouble with Memorial Day, maybe we don't need to add anything to our dance card. But again, if this is something where, I don't know, if I was just wanting to float it out there, if you guys thought, oh, no, of course we should celebrate 175. It is no skin off my back at all.
We don't even have, we
No, I know.
don't even
It was-
have Old Home Day.
No, but
I mean,
what I'm saying is,
well, we
was
did the
the history
150th.
of-
Yeah, we did the
Oh, I thought Old
150th.
Home Day was
That was,
250.
no. We did that in the
Okay.
150th.
I was just
That
trying to look for
yeah,
some history.
that
I
year
wasn't
was-
trying to point out
That
that we
year is
didn't have Old
when we
Home Day.
established it. We had several things that year, the parade, we had a ball in the fall.
A ball?
Yeah, it was a ball, really. And
It's a ball now, for sure.
yeah. I don't know, were you there, Bob?
175 is
Probably.
kind of like,
But,
That's what I'm
but
saying.
most,
Tweener.
I did do some looking into it, and there's, I think, only 2 communities in the state this year that are celebrating the
I'm going to
175.
table it till 2050 then.
So,
Yeah.
I will not be here then.
and I
There's
will.
money in the budget.
well,
Maybe we could have
For
a
it.
birthday cake or something?
I mean,
Like, maybe we
I mean,
can do it.
I'll tell you,
like-
Sean, when we did the 150th, we worked on it for 2.5
That's what,
years.
no, I
Yeah.
know, and I really, like, we should
Yeah.
be starting it because we're coming up on being in the
Yeah.
175th year in March. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're way behind on this, and
Yeah.
I should have circled this on my calendar years
Few
ago.
communities do celebrate the 150th.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for. As long as, listen,
All right,
I
that's
don't
good to
care.
know.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty of things to celebrate. I just didn't want this being something we whiffed on,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, I wish we could do something about
Yeah,
the
we'll do
Old
a-
Home Day. That's
Yeah.
sinful, that's, going to stop this year. but-
no way, it's not
Wait, it
stopping.
is?
It's not stopping. We're
Oh,
not
you
I
stopping.
think we
taking it
do
on?
need to discuss it. I think that's
Yeah, I
part of
mean,
it.
I'm willing to, absolutely willing to help, especially, we're hearing about stipends floating around. I know,
Well,
just kidding.
not to
Yeah.
make light of this, but like, yeah, I mean, it does kind of bum me out. This is not a new problem.
Yeah.
Where people have expectations and they either don't know how to get involved or are not willing to get involved. And frankly, that goes to veterans groups too, because, I mean, yeah, I know that their numbers are down, but if we can't get them excited about Memorial Day, then I'm not sure how we're going to get anybody excited about Old Home Day or Clinton 175. I mean, that's an important day for veterans, and I'm happy to call them out. Like, that's something we need them to activate on, and we need their help. And, if you want, what? I'm fine with this position, but like,
Yeah,
if we
I
can
know.
have,
It's
we
a
can hire
fine
somebody
position.
to wrangle nobody.
I don't know how many people are gonna win over if our policy is to call them out. I get what you're saying, Sean, but
No, but I hear what he's saying. I live with a veteran who is like, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to
It's,
deal with,
yeah,
like, it's.
everybody's busy, I
or,
understand it, but like,
Like,
at a
who
certain
also
point, we
wants to
can't do
downplay a
everything.
service, who sometimes that is a real kind of emotional point for people. Like sometimes that is,
I know,
it's not
but-
the same experience as other people have had in the past with Memorial Day. So
but the
I don't necessarily
Memorial
want to
Day
call them
event
out,
is
but
more like for them, not really,
Well, they
not
didn't
like
die,
their
so-
burden to like put the parade together. The Memorial Day parade is supposed to be like in recognition of them, not like, hey guys, get your stuff together and get the parade going.
I stand corrected. We're going to skip the 175 and look forward to maybe doing
Big
something
cake.
for a big cake on
Yep.
whatever day we're doing in the fall.
Yes.
And then we'll look forward to maybe America 250,
All
which
right.
Steve Kerrigan is handling. I'm not going to do that one at all, so you can talk to him.
Parking on High Street sidewalks.
Yep.
Already warmed up. So my fault. I found out I have been having issues with my email and memory issues, and I found out a week or so ago that I, in fact, have people have been getting responses that my email is like temporarily locked out. So from what I've been told is that Chris McGowan and Phil Duffy had emailed me the specifications for the sidewalks.
No, you're jumping.
Let him run.
Wait, I thought High Street.
We got two
well,
of
we
those.
had two High Street things.
parking
Oh, High
on the
Street parking on
sidewalks.
sidewalks. No, I apologize.
You keep going.
Keep
No,
going?
let's go to this one quick. We're gonna knock this one out.
Yeah, do the
This
other
one's
one.
Sean's
That was
beef, the next one's
in my
yours.
defense. That was kind of sneaky.
Yep.
That was sneaky.
The ruffians are tuning in right now.
Yeah, I appreciate the town for putting up the Jersey barriers at 329 High Street. Again, I'm not trying to make anybody's life harder. The problem I've had, as I said in the past, is a gateway to downtown, and I don't think it's anybody's intention to have cars parked illegally or on the sidewalk, which is also illegally at that point, seeing as we spent millions to update and improve downtown, especially the north side of it. And again, if it was an overflow, I almost might understand it, but I was by, I think on Sunday, where someone's parked on the curb cut illegally, and there's spots behind it, in front of the businesses, and spots across the street. Like, they consider that their driveway now, which I don't appreciate. So, informally, my drive-by survey, it seems like it's been better this week. But I did see, as I was coming to the meeting, or earlier when I was going to the supermarket, someone parked on the curb cut. Parking on a curb cut is illegal. Parking on the sidewalk is legal. If you're parked in a spot that doesn't have a white mark, it's illegal. So that's all I'm looking for, and I'm sorry it got to this point. I think this is a great start. I'm fine, and I don't want to leave the police department blowing in the wind. I know they're busy, but if you're driving by something that I can see, then I think it's pretty obvious that maybe just pull over and put a ticket on them. Just do me a favor, or give me a ticket book, and I'm happy to do it myself.
So what would you recommend for which option?
So the sign's going to go where?
Well, I think they'll probably go on the barriers, but I think that was where, I think the question was, if we just close off that whole curb cut, like you said, people are using it as a driveway against the building there. And then in front, there's not much room to do anything else. So, I mean, they can't really fit this way, so
Yep.
it's going that way.
They do park parallel to that curb cut.
Exactly. I think people have been doing that
So-
before too, yeah. So I
Gosh, I
think if
hate to think
barriers
we'd have
go
to
all the
put a
way
no parking
across-
on sidewalk sign up, but no parking, I think, should cover it. And I would hope that they'd make the leap that you can't park on a sidewalk.
Right, so, but
No parking on the
if I'm
Jersey
understanding
barriers?
this correctly, is it
We've got
to implement either option, barriers and signage can be located as shown below? So which one do we, like,
Right now, we've got them in the A version, but just further back. So on the other side of the sidewalk. So
I
is the
got
idea
you.
to put them closer to the curb cut, to move them up?
Yeah, I think those were the two options, either closing off that closing off the sidewalk so people can't get anywhere near getting up on the curb, or all the way across, so it closes off the curb cut as well too, the driveway.
As long as the curb cut doesn't interfere with pedestrian access, I mean, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And I'll defer to the board. Right now, it is further back, which has helped with the 329. But again, I think they're just in a bad habit right now that we need a break.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a
Because I
question?
think Phil's even been talking with the businesses and hoping they would police it themselves too, and if people are parking there, or if they're their customers, or stuff that they would tell them, you know? If they're, with that swap that we did with Oxford Court, there is a lot there, and it's a little ways away.
There's
but
plenty of
it's
parking.
across the street that, you know, there's parking there, so if businesses need all-day parking, they can go down there, you know, there's plenty, like you said, there's plenty of parking for
All down Wall
off-street parking and on-street parking, like people won't
Yeah.
just cross the street, you know, that they
Yeah.
want to jump that curve and instead of
Yep.
going across the street, so again, we don't want to get too dramatic, but it may be a statement to do.
I think we need a statement.
Have we attempted to ticket at all? People parking on the sidewalks?
The
Like,
sidewalk
what-
seems to
Have we
have
done
gotten better.
anything before we've hit Jersey barrier status?
I think the Jersey barriers are necessary and that these people don't
I agree,
understand.
100% agree with
Okay,
you.
so we haven't
Right.
tried to ticket them, we haven't tried to give them any type of warning, we're just gonna
Yeah.
put the Jersey barriers.
I think maybe enforcement has been looking for guidance from us, which I'd hope to provide tonight.
Yeah. But I think that at least for now, the Jersey Barrier is going to have to make that, like I said, that visual statement,
Yes.
because they're not getting it otherwise.
Because every day without the barriers, there's 2 or 3 cars. That's their employee parking, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to your, you know, to your point on
Hit them in the wallet.
accessibility, like,
That's what
could
I
you
want
get
to
away with like 2 Jersey barriers without
Yeah.
leaves room in
With
between if
signs.
somebody
Yeah.
wants to kind of,
yeah, with signage, I think that would be
Sure.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's try
Okay.
that.
and
Good.
ticketing?
Yeah, no, good. No,
They don't,
thank you.
listen, I'm not asking anyone to go out of their way,
Right.
but it's a highly trafficked area, and that's the only reason I'm concerned about it. If this
Absolutely.
was someone's, you know, it's a dead-end street, I'm not gonna ask somebody to make a special trip. But I would like to think that everybody in this town that's interested in putting on a good face to prospective customers, residents, developers, that would want the same thing, and that, again, if it was somewhere else, I might be a little more lenient. It's not, and we work too hard to make that downtown, especially that end. For those of us who remember with that north end, how dark and sad it was. It's not that way anymore, and I don't want it to go back.
Yeah. And it's a corner, and
Exactly.
both of them are busy streets on that whole intersection.
There's plenty of parking.
So if the board, if you're good with that plan, then that'll be done
Perfect.
this week.
I appreciate the board's tolerance and patience on this.
Very good. Now,
Sorry.
High Street sidewalk analysis.
All right, I wish I could
I know.
rewind
We
and
really threw
YouTube
some-
to go through my, anyway, long story short, the specifications were sent to me, and I wasn't even made aware of it until about a week ago. That being said, if I ask a question at a select board meeting about a specific specification, I would hope that I just get an answer from somebody on that specification, not to just get 150 pages of specs dumped into my email for me to thumb through and try to find myself. I'm not above doing that, but there's people that worked on this project that are much more familiar with it. It would be much more efficient for them to find the information that the duly elected representative of the people is just asking a simple question: what were the specifications for the sidewalk? We did the walkthrough. Those relief cuts are barely over a ½ inch. And from the subject matter experts that were with us, said that that was not sufficient. They pointed out that the cracks go right across the relief cuts, which defeats the purpose of those relief cuts. The purpose of a relief cut is to keep the crack within that block of sidewalk. So if it gets into that relief cut, it propagates down there. That is not happening on High Street. There's cracks that go 20 feet all in front of Abishans. That whole part in front of the Strand is just an awful looking section of sidewalk. And if the specifications call for 2 inches of relief cut, and they only put half an inch, I don't see what the problem is in reaching back out to that company. Shame on us for approving the job. We clearly didn't do a good enough job inspecting the work that was done, but clearly it wasn't done adequately because there's more cracking going on there than just run-of-the-mill cracking. And this notion that there's two types of concrete, the kind that cracks and the kind that's about to crack, that's a bunch of baloney. Because if you go down to different sections on High Street even, there's very good sections of sidewalk. But there are some extremely poor sections of sidewalk. And I would hope that the company that did that work would stand by it and work with us and repair some of those sections. Because we just had a great downtown renovation, and I'm sorry, but there's sections of those sidewalks that look absolutely putrid. It's awful. And I don't know what I'm getting a little frustrated. I wish more, I don't know why I'm the only one that like is getting aggravated about this.
Wait. Listen.
Okay.
We're not putting-
Set me straight, man.
No, I'm not setting you straight on that. I've spent a lot of time on this and trying to navigate. So, yes, I don't want to derail you from
I'm done.
fire speech there, but I mean, listen, it's, you know, we reviewed everything. I think now, yeah, like, I think we need to get down there and measure, we or whoever, to kind of like, to your point, on all those pads where the cracks are not controlled by the joint, let's measure that out and get instead of just using a key, right? Like, let's get an exact number, see what it is. And I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I'm not done with, this isn't finished, so I guess what should we do for the next step? Do we want to wait?
Well, I mean, has anyone, because, I'll do it if I have to, if I get to dig through the specs and find it, but has anyone actually identified in that specification, like what the depth of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what?
It was 25% of the slab.
Okay.
And those are 4-inch slabs.
Okay.
So the other part of that too was, and we would need, I think, Mr. McGowan or Mr. Duffy to kind of confirm this, because it also mentioned on driveway entrances, like it's 6 inches of slab.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this isn't my realm, but I think we need to get someone to confirm. I know that Mr. McGowan did confirm that any change orders that would have happened with a relief cut, so where it was supposed to be a tool joint and then it became a saw cut, that would be between the engineer and the contractor, and the engineer is obviously who we hired for the clerk as well. So
Right. And I'm not foolish enough to think that we're gonna get like huge sections redone, but I think we could at least either get a discount or some assistance, or like some of the worst sections of that, I just would hope that I would wish that company would work with us to repair, so that the taxpayer money isn't just going into repairing a job that should have been done right the first time.
yeah, and I think if we can get the numbers on if we can get a precise measurement on what those cracks are in those particular areas, then I think those are conversations that would kind of be able to fuel a conversation with the company. Because I think until we have those numbers.
Right, I agree.
If they are an inch, then, then we're gonna have to figure something out, right? But if they're not, then at least you can use that to open the lines of communication again. And I know the subject matter expert also mentioned about filling the saw cuts with caulking, right? So I don't know if that's something we still consider doing, or,
Right.
that's that.
And it's not, the difficult thing about this was we spent a long time, months, probably 6 months, trying to hire a subject matter expert, and no one would touch this. I don't know if it's some sort of a unwritten code in the construction business to not speak ill of other people's work, but we haven't been able to. I would gladly like to have a subject matter expert inspect those sidewalks and give an opinion on it, but we were unable to find one. We searched for months and lost a lot of time. So it's just kind of, it's frustrating all around. But I agree with you, Mr. Chair, that would be the next, if we can get somebody to take measurements of those sidewalks and get some numbers, and if it's in clear violation of the specification that was agreed to, then we'll have the data to have a conversation. That's all, that's really all I'm asking.
All right, so how about, what if we, resume the talk with that group, you know, maybe we can reach out to the subject matter expert. And
Sure.
see, you know, if we can meet down there and go to town.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right, very good. Next item, ALS paramedic implementation plan update.
Just to give I spoke with the consultants this morning, and they are finalizing the report. They expected to submit it to their upper superiors for review within the next week to week to 2 weeks at the max. So that it's wrapping up. I know they did some interviews with town officials. They weren't able to get to everyone. They said if people still wanted to speak with them, that they would still have an opportunity over the next few days to, early next week if anybody wanted to talk with them. So it seems as though I think they're meeting with the fire chief again next week, and then at that point, they'll have all they need to finalize the report.
So
So do you
once,
think,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Julie.
sorry, so do you think the end of February we might have it?
Yeah, definitely. The goal was to have this for the budget process, so they seemed to tell me this morning that they would have it in their hands, later than the end of February, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the next step from that is do we at some point get together with the finance committee to discuss that report? Because that was, we agreed to it. That was more their request, I think, but we agreed to see it through. So they'll have their report, digest it, and then, I guess we just get together with them and see like what are the next steps? Are they satisfied with their report? Are we ready to move forward? Are they still going to have more questions or?
Right, and I think the finance committee, as I alluded to earlier, had requested to do in March and April to come to the select board meetings to do
Okay.
budget hearings. So this will just be another one of those discussions, as well as the overall proposals from departments as well, too.
Okay. And is it fair to say that have the finance committee, have they been in touch with this group while the report has been getting put together so they could share what they want to see in it and the
Yep.
data that they want?
Yeah, that was one thing that I requested that they do, is that to select board and finance committee, that people have the ability to one-on-one speak with them. So I believe they did do interviews with finance committee members too. Yep.
Yeah, okay, because this is kind of supposed to be getting to the end of the questions. This report is to like answer the questions and like see if we're gonna move forward, so I just.
Right, this is the report, and I haven't seen it, I don't know what's in it either, but the plan, it's supposed to be, what is the best way to implement this? How would you do it? And again, I don't know what they're looking at, whether it's, hiring people, privatizing, this, that, or whatever, I don't know. I know these were all the parameters they were asked to look at, and then they're gonna come in with some ideas of how to move forward with it.
Will they be doing a final presentation for, will they go over the results of the report, or are they just handing us the?
No, I think they would, yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask them that specifically, but I think they did that on the last time. So
Yeah.
they
And
definitely
And I
would
thought they
make
said they were
themselves
available for town meeting, too. I think during the interview process, they said they'd even come to town meeting and help explain if need be. So, yeah, I would expect that.
Perfect.
Right. I'll confirm with them, but I'm pretty sure, like Mr. Kerrigan said, I'm pretty sure they would make themselves available. Yep, absolutely.
So our next meeting is the 21st of, and then after that, what's the date in March? The only reason I ask is just to try to time it for one of our meetings, like if, I don't know if the 21st is too soon, but if it's not the 21st, then making sure that we're doing it the first week of.
Six.
Or if we can get it done.
Right,
March
if
6th.
it isn't the 21st, it should be shortly thereafter, yeah. And
Perfect.
it would be their draft, because what they do is they give it to the community to review in case there was some glaring omission or something, but the draft is pretty much the final version, so they
Perfect.
should have that sometime around that period, shortly thereafter, the draft, so.
Very good. Excellent. Any other questions? All right, the next item was the employee customer service survey review. Do you want to provide an update on?
Sure, yeah, just as I talked with HR, and I guess part of the scope of work with the, that I wasn't where I was going to talk with department heads, but I guess part of the scope of work is for the consultant to come in and meet with the department heads and explain the recommendations and why they came up with what they came up with, and then just, again, making sure that there isn't any glaring, omission or something that they missed as part of that. And then, help work with us on developing a implementation schedule or implementation plan, whether we need to go to town meeting and what we would need for funding. But I think there's some things that are, I think there are quick things that can be done right away. But this will all come back then to the select board to, kind of go through a checklist of what you would like to see. I know that we have board members that have provided some comments, so we appreciate that. So if people want to continue submitting comments, that'll all be part of a report that we would go forward. So I guess that meeting is set up for February with department heads. And then at that point, that was something I was going to do. I didn't know that the consultant was already scheduled as part of their work to do that. So they're going to explain to the departments why she came up with what she came up with, and then move forward to the board with an action plan. So.
I think the only part that kind of catches me off guard is the consultant has worked very closely with the town employees and the department heads throughout the entire process. So I question why would the consultant need to meet with, is it just the department heads, or is it?
Just department.
Just department heads, okay.
Not all employees, but I think it's just department heads, and again, I think they're going to review the recommendations and go through to explain to them why she came up with them, why they're important, and why things need to move forward, to implement. So.
I would also be interested in, I would have interest in listening to that meeting as well, right? Because I think, if the select board and town administration is gonna be responsible for any implementation, then I think to be able to hear the same message that the department heads are getting would be important.
I don't necessarily disagree. Like, I appreciate the effort in this group in trying to work with the different groups and get their feedback and get some of their concerns, but like, at some point in time, some of these updates or recommendations, I think, kind of have to come from the top down. And I kind of see where the chairman's coming from. I don't have a problem with it, but provided it doesn't drag this out like another 2 months, because if they're gonna meet with the department heads, maybe they're like, well, I'd like to change this and not do this and that, and then they wanna rethink everything again and then change it and update it and say, okay, you okay with this draft? As long as it doesn't turn into that, I really don't have a problem with it. But just do your best, keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't devolve into reassessing everything now, just because there's gonna be some departments that might not like some of these recommendations. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, and my understanding, it wasn't to try to rework the report or change the recommendations. I think it was to explain their analysis of our situation, and try to brainstorm for ways to make it happen, to try to get, people all working together. But ultimately, we'll need the support from the select board to endorse, whatever that final plan is.
Can I make a point?
Yeah, absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess in the past, when I've been involved with these types of things, usually they'll come in and do like a readout with the department heads all together in one room. I don't know, is this person going like department head to department head to department head?
No, I
Or
think
is this
it's
like
going
a
to be
group of-
all together in one room, yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
I agree wholeheartedly that, it kind of is confusing why the consultant wouldn't be meeting with that town admin
Yeah.
and the select board about the reasoning behind those recommendations. And then if any department heads or employees have questions or concerns, you go to the person you report to, right? So I think it seems like it's not happening top down. It definitely seems it's building up. And for the sake of time and whatnot, like,
To your point, I thought the building up was the survey.
Right.
Was kind
100%
of
agree.
gathering.
I kind of
all
agree with
the-
that, yeah.
And then taking all that information and qualitative comments, like just to then was the report that we got. And that was kind of for us to determine, and us meaning collectively, mostly you and Angela, to what that means and how we can implement. These are easy things to implement, these are longer things, this is HR related that needs to get involved and kind of go from there. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, not to belabor it,
I
but like,
agree.
where
we
it
can
is. Maybe
still-
they have they not seen that report? Is that is that the situation?
No, it was sent to all department heads
Oh, okay.
that they had gotten copies.
So they've seen the same thing we have?
Yep,
And then
absolutely,
it's
yep.
just a,
I mean, can we choose to bypass that part of it? And then, if the consultant would meet with you and Angela, then go from there. But I don't, to Ed's point, I don't think we need to.
My recommendation, since this has already kind of been the path that was laid out, I don't think there's any harm in having, if it's just one meeting with all the department heads, we do want to get buy-in, like, that's what we want. Like, we want them to believe in these recommendations. So I really don't have a problem with, if it's just like one more meeting to have a discussion about this, to, further extend an olive branch on, like, to get buy-in from people, that's fine. But, I mean, the bus has to leave the station at some point, right? So like, after this meeting, I think we should just focus on, I just think it would be bad optics to like cancel that meeting after we've kind of like discussed, and I'm sure people have maybe had conversations about it or might expect it. So I don't think there's any harm in having that meeting, as long as we just like kind of keep it constrained and just, let everyone know this isn't really, we're not really revisiting a lot of this stuff. We're trying to explain why we think it's important. And then, and then just from that meeting onward, it's more of implementation.
I mean, can we at least highly encourage this meeting to take place before our next select board meeting? Where then if we want to start voting on anything, we can begin moving forward.
Yep, okay. I'll check on that. But I agree. I think, I've started compartmentalizing different recommendations on different strategies of short, long term. So, but you're right. We do want to make sure everybody sees the value in it and we move forward, and it's not more of just do it or else type thing. We're doing it because it's important and it's going to help benefit, I think, the customer and the public, but also I think the departments. I think that a lot of these recommendations will help the department be able to communicate their mission a lot easier to the department too. I mean, to the public, so.
Very good.
And overall, Mike, I think that your office has done a good job with this task of implementing these updates. So, I mean, I don't mean that my last comment to take anything away from you guys. It's not, these type of professional development activities sometimes can be a little bit tricky, especially when you're trying to change culture and change habits that have, if this survey identified some things that should probably change, to come back up with like kind of municipal standards. It's not easy, and I think you guys have done a good job overall. It was just, yeah, I think we all just wanted to make sure that it doesn't like regress back into
Right.
another like give and take kind of thing. I think we're kind of like getting towards the end.
Very good. Anything else on that? Next item, committee reports.
Before we get to committee reports,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I just was curious about, on the ARPA funding that we agreed to give to certain departments, have those checks ever been received by those people?
For the
money
hazard
that
pay?
was- Yeah, the money, yeah.
Yeah, those have not been sent out as of yet.
Why?
The Assistant Town Administrator has been working with departments to determine that list. The list was, based on the criteria and the parameters to try to develop who would be eligible and who wouldn't be. And I think there's some questions on some of the positions that have been put forward, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's also looking at 66 weeks of payroll individually, so it's not, we don't have an easy reporting system, so it's kind of going through one by one, and some people started midway, some people left, some people retired, so it's just trying to
Where was it at, though?
document
Where was it at in the process?
towards the end.
Oh, okay, because I mean, it's been quite a while.
Oh, I know,
mean,
yeah.
because a lot of them have, I don't know if you've had any people approach you. I know people have, I've
Yeah, I
had a
think
few
we
people say,
approved
where's,
it.
yeah,
In November, so it
Yeah.
took me a while to get the list
yeah,
and just,
okay. So it's at the tail end? Okay, all right.
Close.
yeah.
Very good. All right. Any committee reports?
Mr. Chair, we've got a cable committee penciled in for week, 2 weeks from Thursday?
Yeah, February 22nd?
Yeah.
Sharpie right? Sharpie
I'm waiting to hear from one member.
And we had an open space and recreation plan committee. We had our second public forum on Monday to gather more community feedback, which we had a great turnout, and people came forth with some really creative and really unique ideas. So very much appreciate people taking the time on a Monday in February to come out and help us with that. So that quest to update it continues, so I can keep everybody updated as it progresses.
Awesome.
And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I don't know if this goes in committee announcements or old and new. I saw there was another resignation for great reasons. Congratulations to Rebecca on her new family, but are we worried at all about the Conservation Commission getting a quorum? I know there are a couple members down. Do you want to advertise that now, or are we?
Yeah,
on
we
that point,
definitely
or-
need to continually, it's on the website
Okay.
continually, we're looking for help. We have a couple of boards that still need help. We could certainly put another notice in the paper, a physical
Okay.
notice in the item as well, too. So I think they have enough for quorum. They were down one, and now they're down two, so they do have 3 members, but, if somebody misses or can't make
Yeah.
it, then they might have difficulty there, so. So there's enough members on the board to hold a meeting, it's just whether they pick a date that everybody
Yeah.
can make it. But certainly we will put a notice in the item, but it is on, and I think that you've done some social media outreach
Yeah, we
too.
just
Great.
posted it again.
Oh, good, okay.
All the ones, so.
Yeah, it's a talented, really important board, and it's, kind of an atypical thing for town government. So I know we have biologists, and it's not as, I guess it's a different kind of dorky, but they do really important work, and I would love for them to be closer to full staff. So if anybody out there is interested, please let us know.
Is there a
And we
certain
have
background?
good people with good backgrounds that are on that committee.
Oh, they're incredible.
So it's certainly good.
Yeah.
good-
There
good
isn't,
working
but we're
board.
very fortunate in that
Yeah.
we've got a murderer's row in this board.
So there isn't like kind of a criteria that you might need to serve on the board? It's just, we currently have people that are
We've lucked
kind of
out.
rock stars for it, yeah, and could use a few extra, so.
Yes.
All right,
No. Nope, not at all. I mean, certainly having a background is helpful when you're going through that type of analysis, but it's really, these boards are to give the perspective of the public, direction of what people in the public want for the town.
Okay.
So, yep. So there's no
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
criteria.
Excellent.
Very good. Community announcements. News from the town clerk's office. There will be a presidential primary election on March 5th. The deadline to register to be eligible to vote in the primary election is Saturday, February 24th at 5 p.m. The clerk's office will be open on this date from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for in-person voter registration. For more information about registering to vote, changing your party affiliation, or early voting, please visit the clerk's office page on the town website. Again, the primary election is on March 5th, and the last day to register to vote for that would be Saturday, February 24th. News from Parks and Recreation. The Parks and Recreation Department is now accepting registration for their summer playground programs for youth and teens. To register online or for more information, visit clintonrec.com. That's clintonrec.com. One last announcement. I just want to take a minute to recognize Mr. Bob Swetland on his retirement. He was an employee of the town of Clinton for 42 years, I think was the time, 42 years. He's worked in the Clinton Water Department throughout that time. Thank you and enjoy your retirement.
Here.
We will be leaving open session to go into executive session under Article 6, South Meadow Road easement. We will then be leaving executive session to go into executive session, Article 6, St. John's Gym lease negotiations. And we will not be returning to our public meeting. The next meeting we have will be February 21st. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great night. I will accept roll call to leave open session and enter into executive session.
Ed DeValle, aye.
Sean Kerrigan, aye.
Julie Bruce, aye.
Mary Dickard, aye.
Matt Kovas, aye. Thank you very much.
Good night.